我们反对的是共产党，它给世界带来了恐惧。这个带来的恐惧的原因，就是因为我们懦弱、自私。他们70年来欺骗了全世界，威胁了中国人，才让中国共产党有今天在全世界的风头。大家想一想，我郭文贵如果去了其他国家，我的结局是什么？不是把我锯掉了，是直接把我放到机器里变成火腿肠了，锅式火腿肠。而且在座的很多华人朋友，你们根本没有机会站在这个舞台上，因为共产党70年来都是成功的。
Evil done in Victoria Streets, painted red on and one eye. The handgun, the curtains untied, the underground bounce of treasures, or counterfeit, marching outside. In Scotland Yard, they be working all night long. Nobody's left to go on the go for doubles back, smiling with his mind.
They sounded like a 70s. These days and girl, let me play out your ending. The morning light will always fade away tonight, or to this taking from our side.
他的恐吓，他的蓝金黄，他的威胁，让我们失去了尊严，失去了安全，失去了发声的自由和权利。我们感恩美国，我们感恩西方的媒体朋友们，与我们一起寻求真相，寻求正义。
How can the truth get exposed to places where no one goes? The simple smell of a rose, the secrets start to unfold. Every person wears a mask of fashion, reason and lie. Every action has a reason, that reason desire. Oh Father, Father, Papa, oh Father, Father, Papa. In this life, how can we live without never sinning just once? We can forgive and forget, but we can live and let rest that cannot take the pieces that are come to you and set light up. I hear a step close behind me, familiar smell, a flashing light. The door opens, we're turning around, the pages lie, left and written, crimson to the touch. No, someone had me wrong, no, this much felt too much as though I know it's the end. You never think of the reason I fought to defend the only justice and you now lives on silently, words written to be seen.
These
I hear a step
waves, they sound like a
西方的威胁，绝对不是我在这里能形容的。接下来用我们的行动来证明给所有的全人民看，共产党是世界上最大的毒瘤。共产党一天待在中国，它都是人类最大的威胁。郭文贵总是有一句话，我们老叫深陷羊骨陷大陷，我要用事实行动证明给你们。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lila Host. Voila. Children are the hope of a nation. The CCP has dominated the country for more than 70 years. They have destroyed the traditional culture, virtue of the Chinese people, and the environment in China, annihilating the wellness of the Chinese people. And this kind of brutalization starts by toddlers, which is part of CCP's ambition to destroy the future of the country to serve a few families from the party. Children are not just poisoned by political brainwashing from an early age, but also undergo massive physical mutilation. The CCP had been advocating one-child policy nationwide since 1980. And in 1982, it established the family planning policy as a basic state policy. Since the introduction of the family planning policy, China has been subjecting 13 million fetuses to brutal abortions each year. And over the past 30 years, more than 400 million fetuses have been slaughtered. According to Wikipedia, the death toll of World War I was 70 million, and the death toll of World War II was roughly 70 to 85 million, which means one child policy killed Chinese people is more than 4 times the number of World War I and World War II. And all these massacres by the communists are of the fetus still in their mother's womb. So think about it, dear friends. If these things were happening to you, what would you think? What would you do? Do you know what the communists did to pregnant women who were planning to have an abortion? Many mothers were lined up and went into a small room or small tent without any sanitary or medical conditions just to have the fetus taken out alive directly from the vagina by the community doctors with clips. And some of the babies were already 9 months, and when they clicked out, they were still crying. The doctor directly smashed to death on the ground. This is the Communist Party of China.
The CCP's genocide in Xinjiang was premeditated. Why do I say this is premeditated? Through collective decision-making at a number of meetings, the entire team of the state is implementing this extinction plan. It was not just planned for 3 or 5 years. Now what we see are the results. Just a small part. Why do I suggest the new federal state of China to build multiple gathering centers around the world for our members? If we, as members of the new federal state of China, cannot even resolve this problem, the new federal state of China has failed. Many people think this is only a genocide in Xinjiang. Let me tell you, it's also about the birth control of Han people, each one of the real Chinese. When I was in Chaoying, my hometown, every year I saw them block off a street and set up a tent. A pregnant woman was brought over and pushed to the ground. The infant was taken out of her belly and dropped dead in a pit. This happens every year. I am not talking nonsense. Any of our fellow fighters from Shandong or northeastern China, did you see pregnant women who were brought to a town and their babies were dragged out and dropped to death? How many? How many? If the fetus is a few months old, the placenta is wanted. They boil and eat the placenta. Those people who help perform forced abortions are carrying big lunchboxes with them and cooking the placenta to eat. This crime has not stopped yet.
What are children suffering nowadays in Communist China? A report, The Burden of Child Maltreatment in China, a systematic review from NIH, the National Library of Medicine. It gives the data that out of 400 million children in China, 26.6% of the children under 18 years old have suffered physical abuse, 19.6% emotional abuse, 8.7% sexual abuse, and 26% neglect. The emotional abuse in childhood accounts for 26.3% of the daily loss because of mental disorders and 18% of those lost because of self-harm. In conclusion, in China, child maltreatment is common and associated with large economic losses because many maltreated children suffer substantial psychological distress and might adopt behaviors that increase their risk of a chronic disease. The accurate data of the child abuse in Communist China is much higher than the article shows. What makes me even more unacceptable is that the child abuse in Communist China is not clearly defined by the Chinese law code. The law of Chinese Communist Party on the Protection of Minors and Criminals Law of China do not yet have an article on the subject of child abuse. The Communist China does not have a specific law enforced to protect the welfare of children. From 2018 to 2020 to 290,000 individuals were charged with crimes against minors, and of which 131,000 were prosecuted for sexual offenses such as rape and child molestation. 41% of those prosecuted were given a prison sentence longer than 3 years. The Criminal Code of the Republic of China, Chapter 17, Offenses Against Marriage and Family, Article 240. A person who attacked a minor under the age of 20 or to 18 to leave his or her family or guardian shall be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 3 years. A person who attacks a married person to leave his or her family shall be subject to the same punishment. However, from the report of Understanding Wildlife Crime in China, social demographic profiling and the motivation of the offender's crime seriousness as minor offense with probation or administrative fine. Moderate offense with less than 5 years fixed term imprisonment. Serious offense with 5 to 10 years of fixed term imprisonment. And very serious offense with 10 to 15 years fixed term imprisonment. A real estate billionaire and Chinese property tycoon Wang Zhenhua, whom officials accused of taking children as his playthings, was sentenced to 5 years in prison by Shanghai court after his conviction for child sexual abuse. He was sentenced to only 5 years in prison for molesting a 9-year-old girl in his hotel room, which under Chinese law it is a maximum sentence for molestation. According to China, has sparked online debate after it sentenced university students to 10 years in jail for selling rare birds he found near his hometown. From the constitution law of the Communist China, wildlife over human trafficking or fatal car accident mean a few years. Fights, thieves, robberies get a few years. Poaching a bird means you are sentenced to more than 10 years. After hearing this, and you can understand why kidnapping in community China is a well-organized business carried out with a large degree of success as one of the most common crimes. The CCB reports that an illegal market in children has developed in China in which babies are being openly sold online. It is very hard to find out the accurate data for missing children, but we know that kidnapping has become a top priority for policymakers. They are deeply participating in the process of children trafficking and organ harvesting. It's easy to understand that why 2 cameras serving for 1 person in community China, but they are not able to find where the missing children are. Even children escaped from kidnapping, but could they live safe and sound with severe pollution and toxic chemical enclosing pensioners, food, expensive health care, even in the kindergarten? There are great risks of child abuse. Today we are going to talk about the most famous RYB education. RYB education is a publicly listed company for preschool education in the Communist China. As measured by annual total revenues in 2016, the company is the largest provider of early childhood education service in China. As you can see from picture, yes. They have more than 20,000 kids registered in June of 2017. In December 2015, in Jilin province, where the RYB kindergarten was reported to abuse 30 toddlers with needles stabbing, 4 of the teachers were sentenced to 2 years and 10 months imprisonment for guardianship abuse, yes. In April of 2017, parents reported they suspected their children of being abused at the school. Some even alleged that their kids were being molested and given drugs, and injections without parental consent. In 2017, RYB education served over more than 20,000 young kids aged 0 to 6 years. In other words, these 20,000 children aged 0 to 6 years old have the risk and the fact of potentially being sexually assaulted and abused. But RYB education started trading on the New York Stock Exchange on 27th of September 2017. How it is possible Child Abuse Education Center RYB could be on the stock market? According to Miles' revelation, the real boss behind the RYB kindergarten is Meng Jianzhu, the former secretary of the political and legal committee of the Communist Party. Wall Street is also the most important supporters of RYB education. From here, we can see the Chinese Communist Party is organized to sexually abuse children. How many children in RYB kindergartens have fallen victims to sex toys of the Communist Party and have been gun raped and raped? This is the evilest organized crime in human history, a crime against humanity. However, the crimes committed by RYB kindergarten cannot be investigated or talked about. Story is not finished yet. The Davos Forum is the world's greatest gathering of elites, an elite venue that determines the economic and political direction of mankind. From Miles' revelation that Davos Forum is a club that controls the destiny of mankind, a club that does not want the world to have a population of 7.5 billion. And then the club wants to make the whole world as their slaves. And technically, it is called the Club of Slave Masters. What Davos ever done for the world? It was Davos that Gavi, the vaccine alliance, was launched in 2000. Gavi now helps to vaccinate nearly half of the world's children from so-called deadly disease and plays a key role in delivering COVID-19 vaccines to vulnerable countries. How many of the children worldwide did not get a shot of COVID-19 vaccine? Why did Bill Gates' daughter not get any vaccines? Davos attendees include leaders from business, governments, civil society, faith groups, academia, and the arts, as well as global media. Why these elites from all fields need to watch children's performance in Tianjin? Who are the young children? Are they left behind children?
The origin of these people in the Davos Forum, let me tell you, is a club of dark forces. It's a club that controls the destiny of mankind, does not allow a population of 7.5 billion, and enslaves the whole world. Strictly speaking, it should be called the Club of Slave Owners. Who has controlled it for the past few years? Have you seen Trump or Biden participate in these years? How many foreign heads of state have you seen participate in this meeting? Good heads of state will not attend this conference. It is all controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. When did the Chinese Communist Party take control? In 2001, the CCP was chosen to host the Beijing 2008 Summer Olympics and got the ticket to enter the World Trade Organization. The CCP has grown from $1.3 trillion to $15 trillion today. From that day on, the Davos Forum has colluded with the CCP and has never allowed Westerners to have a say. Have you read the charter of the Davos Forum, my dear fellow fighters? Look at the past few decades. Have they done anything consistent with their charter since the 1970s? When the Davos World Economic Forum was held in Tianjin, people from the Ministry of Security sent 400 to 500 people to the scene in advance to collect, install, and plan all the videos in advance, including sampling. When we look back now at the Davos Forum in Tianjin, the so-called Davos Forum Performance Group was selected from Tibet, Xinjiang, and Yunnan. How many little girls were there? How many children were involved? Go back and take a look now. Don't just listen to me. Just go check it out yourself. Someone from the Ministry of Security and Political and Legal Affairs Committee at that time told me, Miles, how could this be called the Davos Forum? These low lives were just to abuse our children. He said, more exaggeratedly, it was about blood. He said that he suddenly realized that there was a large amount of blood in the bank in case of an emergency. I believe that there was only Chinese people's blood. The CCP even extracted serum for these people. Have you ever seen these old bastards not napping in any meeting? Did you see any of these low-lives napping in Tianjin's Davos meeting? Let's look back. How many years has this been? Look at the hotels built in Tianjin at that time. No ordinary person was allowed to stay in those hotels. But we can see one Davos member occupying one entire floor. A total of only about 800 to 1,000 people had attended the meeting. Did you really need to empty all tens of thousands of rooms in the hotels? Empty the entire city? What did you want to do? When I look at the Davos Forum today, which was prepared very well by my fellow fighters, this is evidence of its crime over the past few years.
One-child policy are destroying the world. But how do you feel when you hear child abuse, child trafficking, and organ harvesting uncommon in communist China? There are psychopaths in every country. But in communist China, it is organized to molest children. It is not possible to happen in Western democratic countries to organize the sexual abuse of children in a kindergarten and have a system of state power to cover up the case of molestation. It is called a society based on the rule of law. Human lives matters, and the individual is the greatest. A society based on the rule of law, democracy, and the rule of law, a spirit of the Western countries. But in communist China, everybody and everything serve for the party. Chinese people are the slaves of the party. The evil CCP is the only god in communist China. And that's why we must take down the CCP. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Down the CCP, take down the CCP. Follow me and I'ma set us free. Take down the CCP. Let me tell you what I've been through, baby. Lived a life that was hella unfair. Seen things that been driving me crazy. In a country where the leaders don't care. Didn't think we had the courage to change it. Tore it down and they weren't prepared. Everything that they kept us from saying. Now we talking and they better be scared. Take from us. Tell us what and who to love. Swear I finally had enough.